What is going on, everybody? Welcome back in for another live show here on the Tim Warren YouTube channel. It's been a couple of weeks, but we'll talk about what is going on, why we are back in case you missed the announcement. But also, we got to talk about some stuff happening in the crypto markets right now because there's some very clear traps in play, some very clear manipulation that if you don't understand what's happening to you, you are going to get faked out. You are going to lose money. You're not going to know when to buy, and you're definitely not going to know when to sell, which is the name of the game. And we're going to expose that and talk a little bit about what that means for the future of your crypto assets. We got some fantastic news to talk about, yet the charts are kind of looking a little different. We'll break all that down and a whole lot more in today's show, so do not go anywhere. Make sure, as always, smash the like button. And I'll tell you this right now, I don't know who all saw this. I just saw it today. Maybe this changed a little bit ago. Did you see that the like button changed? And I know that's going to sound like I'm clickbaiting you, but it's going to sound like I'm just trying to get you to hit the like button. Genuinely, it looks different. The thumbprint looks different. I don't know exactly when that happened, but smash it anyway, just so you notice the difference there. And also, make sure you're subscribed. After we had our little hiatus, we had like 900 people unsubscribe, despite the fact we told you not to and that we were going to try to come back to the channel. So let's get back up there. Let's get back up towards 59,000 subscribers. Let's get over 60. Let's get to 100K. But you got to make sure you smash subscribe. It's free. It's easy. It's simple. Do it right now. I am joined by the crew. As always, I got Smay back from his Pittsburgh trip. I got Shrum chilling in those Virginia mountains, although he's not actually in the mountains. He's just in Virginia. Boys, how we doing today? Smay, your Pittsburgh Steelers handled those Browns mightily. How was that experience for you?
It was the best sporting experience I've ever had. I did not expect to. First of all, I'll say this: on Saturday, I went to my first ever hockey game.
I saw that.
Yeah, and now I'm wearing obviously a Penguins jersey.
Bill Pangs.
They suck. They're really bad because I just watched them lose again last night. But I feel so in love with the city of Pittsburgh that I might as well, suffer with them as in that sport as well. But no, the football game was incredible. They handled business. I got to go down to the field and meet a bunch of players before the game, so that was awesome. I got a lot of stuff signed, and so that was really cool. I got to see TJ Watt up close and personal, so that was awesome. But anyways, that was my weekend. How about you guys?
Mine was good. Very relaxing. Virginia Tech lost again, as always. What's new? Spent some good time with the fam, went to church, and it was a good weekend overall for me, other than tech. How about you, Shrum? How did you do? How you doing?
I'm doing well, and the weekend, in my opinion, is kind of far in the rearview mirror. I'm more focused on kind of what's happened so far this week.
Sure, it's Wednesday. We're talking about the weekend, but that's because May just got back.
Yeah, it's been an interesting week already. We've got some interesting headlines to cover today. Some bullish, some bearish, but you got to have a little salty with your sweet, a little salad with your steak. I'm ultimately still very, very bullish and loving what's going on. And Tim, I can confidently say that I'm better than I deserve.
That's very good. Shout out to Jeffrey Gaylord, who just became a Bros YouTube member. I didn't even know we still had the membership things turned on. So shout out to Jeffrey Gaylord. Thank you so much for that. Got some people asking about Ondo TA. We got people asking about how we sorted out our problem with YouTube. Vlad is asking, can we look back at last Friday now with 2020 Vision? What TA indicators flashed that bear attack warning? I'll tell you this. We'll take a look at that kind of stuff. Nothing could have prepared you for the severity of what happened on Friday. Even hindsight being 2020, it's still one of those things I look back on and I'm like, listen, there are aspects that make sense. There's conspiracy twists that I'm like, yeah, that checks out. It still is crazy that we had the largest, not even by a little bit, like it'd be one thing if we barely broke the record for the largest crash in crypto history. We shattered, absolutely destroyed the previous one-day collapse in crypto. It's very hard to have predicted that to come true, even with hindsight being 2020. But we'll address that a little bit. I want to give a special shout out as well as we grow here on YouTube again, and we're getting more concurrent here. I would love to get to 1,000 concurrent here on YouTube. Get us there. Smash the like, hit subscribe. Don't leave. We're also live today on X, just in case anything in the future ever goes fishy down with YouTube again. Want to make sure we're growing our X platform as well. So shout out to all of you watching on X. Shout out to you guys on YouTube. Let's check out some bubbles and let's get into some technical analysis and news. Bubbles really a lot of red here today, but they're not really terribly red candles. They're getting a little bit more of a bounce back today. Nothing egregious, right? A lot of 7%, 6%, 5%. Cake's down 13%. Co-AI is up today, 82%. But I did put a little nugget in our VIP trading group earlier today. I don't know if we're going to look at this chart today. I have to look at it a little bit later with our group because that's a coin and that's a chart right now that looks very interesting for a potential short. I'm not going to discuss that too much right now. But for the most part, got a lot of red here today. In a nutshell, we are testing some pretty important support levels. I'm going to do what we've always done here. Not always done. Let me back up. I'm going to do what we've been doing more recently. Let's take a quick look and dive through a couple of big coins, a couple of things happening, not do in-depth analysis, but kind of just overview the market. Let's talk about the news so we understand what's happening and then come back to the charts to kind of get a good breakdown. Bitcoin is coming back down, came back down today towards $110,000. And I'm going to give you a teaser here because I'm going to talk about it later. $110,000 is a very, very important support level. Do not sleep on it. Even right now, we'll do another test. I did this on Monday with our group on the other channel. Can someone tell me what is this formation right here developing? In chat, go right now. On X, on YouTube, let me know. What is that formation and what does that mean? We'll talk about it a little bit later. Bitcoin is back above 111,000 after touching 110, but can it sustain a bullish movement? Or will we see a big drop down below? Ethereum has now come back down below $4,000. We're kind of hovering around that area. We're on some support, some big support, but what could that mean for Ethereum in a nutshell? Let's look at some others. I've been trading Link. I actually just entered a link here, a link trade here. Oh, let me get rid. I'm giving away too much information here. Can't give away this information. Link here on some key support at the moment. You guys can see a lot of going on there on my trade setup in my VIP trading group. Will that support hold, or are we about to release back down towards $15, $16? In a nutshell, though, today we did break back down below $18 temporarily. It does look like a little short bottom is in on smaller time frames, but very far away from calling this some sort of bullish push that would send Link back up above $20 and to new all-time highs anytime soon. In a nutshell, what we're seeing on the markets right now is a decent amount of pulling back as we continue to consolidate after Friday's very, very large crash. But I will say this. There's a couple of charts here that don't care about the crash on Friday. One in the crypto realm, BitTensor Tau continues to lead this crypto market after having that crash all the way down to $244, right? Everything in crypto crashed. Even the TradFi markets crashed on Friday in the after hours markets. But it has had a resounding surge coming up here just a couple of hours ago, getting back to levels we hadn't seen since back in May of this year. Back up, and we hit as high as $475 per coin. Maybe Shrum's going to give us some insights as to why Tau is doing that. But I'll tell you one chart, the chart of the day, one of our predictions has already come true, and that is gold. Some of you remember months ago, we talked about this symmetrical triangle attached to this explosive rally. We called it a bull pennant pattern. And gold, ladies and gentlemen, has hit above $4,200 an ounce. Again, a prediction that we made back in August. Will it start to reverse? Is this the top, or will it just keep on running? What does that mean for the crypto markets? We'll have to kind of look at that a little bit later on. Bitcoin dominance continues to kind of just trend sideways within this channel. As I show you some smaller time frames here, there's a little channel right now with rising resistance and support that if you take out the outlier of the crazy Friday, we're still trading within this channel. It should be good news. This should eventually send this back down, and we should see Bitcoin dominance climbing back to the downside. But for now, we're kind of maintaining that zone, and we're hovering between that 59 and 60% tile for Bitcoin dominance. Another one I'm going to keep an eye on here, and we're going to talk more about recently, is a recent surge here in the USDT dominance. This is another one, just like Bitcoin dominance, we want to see this come down, which equals more buying opportunities. If you look at this, every time that we see a top out of USDT dominance, these are the best times to have bought historically. We're looking at April of 25. We're looking back over here at September of 24. We're looking at June of 25. All those top little levels right there have been historically great places to transfer from Tether into altcoins, into Bitcoin, And right now, we have that wick from Friday that touched a former level of resistance, a nice trending level of resistance. Are we seeing a top there? Is this a great buying opportunity? Or, as the title kind of suggests, are we in a major trap situation with a lot of confusion? Here's the reality. Let's go off my screen for a second. We are in a confusing time period. We are in a situation right now that is extremely, extremely confusing for all retail holders. Why? Because these markets are heavily manipulated. If you thought the manipulation ended on Friday with the massive crash, sorry to burst your bubble, it was only beginning for this season. As institutions are looking at the crypto space and they're foaming at the mouth, excited about the future potential of not just the technology and how it furthers the planet, they care way more about the other thing, the money and the profits they can make. However, they're more patient than the average retail investor, and they will continue to shake out the markets to make sure they make the most gains possible while limiting those soft-handed, weak-handed retail investors. I'm not so certain, as we're going to get back in the charts in a couple of minutes, that the dips are officially over, but stick around for that. Here's the nutshell of what we're going into, and we're going to get into these stories. Right now, both the macro and micro news are phenomenal. It is telling us that the bright future of crypto is still coming. And yet, while certain charts are giving us bullish indicators, there's still a lot of downside on the charts that are saying it's possible. Do not fall for traps, or if you do, make sure you're aware of the possibilities that are still ahead of us. Just because the articles we're about to read are going to be super bullish does not mean that we're about to see new all-time highs for Bitcoin and other altcoins the rest of this week. In fact, there's still a whole lot of volatility ahead of us, and we're going to address just what that manipulation looks like. So once again, we're sitting here, 500 people on YouTube right now. Good job, halfway there. Let's get to 1,000. Smash like, hit subscribe. 200 people on X. Let's get into our stories and make sure we're aware of what's going on. Let's start off here with some updates. We're on the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index. We're coming in today squarely in the fear, in the orange. We're at 34. This isn't as low as we were last week when we got down to at 24, 26. I can't remember which one, but still in the fear, which means we are probably closer to the bottom than maybe some people do believe. I love buying in the fear. I love seeing this down here, but that's where we are at the moment. Altcoins as a whole, according to CoinMarketCap, are also in the fear, sitting at 37. iCommando just corrected me. It's 27. I apologized. We got to 27 on the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index. Thank you for that update right there. So altcoins and Bitcoin are squarely in the fear, and yet all of this is still going to be surrounded by stories just like this for reasons why I do not believe that the top is in for cryptocurrencies. There's a whole lot of bullishness coming. Just in, 2 more rate cuts look likely or realistic this year, according to Stephen Moran, the Trump-appointed Fed governor. So this is actually one of the people that gets to vote in October and December to cut rates, and he has more insights than the rest of us. He is saying 2 more rate cuts are the realistic expectation right now. I believe Polymarket agrees with this, with more than a 95% probability of another cut happening in October. We just had fantastic news yesterday from Jerome Powell when he took the stage, where he pretty much admitted it's time to move away from quantitative tightening into quantitative easing, which in other words means more rate cuts are happening. For more on this, I want to throw it over to our research expert, Shrum. Give us more insights on this. Anything else that people need to know, or is it just that clear cut? Rate cuts are coming. Things are looking good. More money should flow into the markets. What are your takes here?
You're muted.
That's one way to talk about it, yeah. And you're still muted.
Okay, there we go.
There we go. You're here.
It is that clear cut, Tim, and there's actually a lot more to it, which is that the balance sheet is something that has been way off in the background. It's something that the Federal Reserve has not stopped being active with, but they've been doing the wrong thing if you are a risk holder. If you're holding assets like Microsoft, Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Caspa for that matter, or DraftKings, or whatever it might be, they have actually been selling bonds, right? Or rolling off the bonds that they hold on their balance sheet and selling those bonds. Well, what does that do? That takes dollars out of the economy, right? Instead of putting dollars into the economy. So activating their balance sheet is something that the market is really excited about. That's the printing, right? When you see the GIFs and the funny memes about Jerome Powell printing the money, that's exactly what he's talking about. He's talking about the balance sheet. Cutting the rates makes the velocity of money cheaper, or it makes the velocity of money more intensified. However, it makes money cheaper too. But it's the balance sheet, a totally separate tool, that really brings the market to life. That's what we saw during just after the pandemic when they were bailing out the economy, and we saw markets absolutely fly. So a rate cut, 2 more in the rest of 2025, almost a given at this point, according to the Poly market, which is highly accurate. And also, they're trying to trot out that balance sheet discussion. Now, what we learned from Jerome Powell's speech yesterday was that they're not going to do this quickly, right? They're not going to start printing money very quickly, but they are ready to do it, and they are getting closer to doing it. Is kind of the language that we saw yesterday from some esoteric award ceremony that Jerome Powell got to attend. So that's what he spilled the beans there. So that's my thoughts on it, Tim.
Yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, we'll go back to this. Until we see skyrocketing unemployment, this is going to be good news. Rate cuts with sky-high unemployment, bad news for the market. So if in the next couple of weeks, which again, we have a government shutdown, so we won't see this data, but if in the next couple of weeks we see a massive layoff of the employment realm and unemployment skyrockets, that's going to be bad news. That's absolutely something to watch out for, but I don't see that coming. I don't think the data sees that coming. I don't think the people make the decisions see that coming. So in that case, with rate cuts coming in and no sky-high unemployment, it's hard to not say this is going to be very much a repeat of what we saw in 2020, and rates should shoot to the upside. Sorry, not rates. Prices should shoot to the upside. But again, that doesn't mean it happens this week. It doesn't mean it's that easy. Sometimes you got to be a little patient. Why? Because in markets like crypto, it's very easy for the big boys to manipulate the prices, to keep things down. There's a reason why the stocks have still been going to the upside over the last couple of weeks while crypto's been pulling back. It's almost like those wealthy individuals know something and they want to accumulate as much as possible before it's too late. There's some other good things happening. Of course, the crash, while having a lot of conspiracy around it, was triggered by a post from the president of the United States about tensions between the United States and China when it comes to trade wars and threatening increased tariffs. Well, of course, he walked this back on Sunday, but Besset, the Treasury Secretary, has continued to bring people back down to earth when it comes to fears about a potential trade war. Breaking here, according to my screen, Treasury Secretary Besset, and Smade's going to go to it, there we go. Treasury Secretary Besset provides needed clarity that he's optimistic China and they can communicate, they being the United States, in communication with them, narrowed the Fed chair candidates down to 5 to the last 3 to 4 names that will go to Trump. He's seen estimates shut down hurting economy up to $15 billion a day. So kind of putting pressure on the Democrats there to come back in. And he believes the U.S. will do what it takes to get rare earths if China won't sell the United States. We have to be self-sufficient, or we have to be sufficient with our allies. In a nutshell, he gave us a lot of updates, but giving us some peace kind of about the China news in 2 different ways, pretty much saying we have a good relationship, everything should be fine, but even if it's not, we're going to find ways as the United States to be A-okay. And I know we have a lot of listeners that are not Americans. I'm actually looking at the demographics earlier this week. I think at one point, Shrum, our demographics had like 75% of our viewers were from the United States of America. Cool. Awesome. I like the diversification, though. I was happy to look at it. Right now, 47% of our viewers are from America. The rest, the heavier splits, we have a lot of Canadian viewers, people from the UK, Australia, and then scattered across both Africa and Asia and South America. We got a lot of different listeners in here. So I realize more than half of you guys are sitting here saying, Tim, I'm not even American. Why does this matter? Well, in case you didn't know, the American economy and the way America operates has the largest impact on markets worldwide. So seeing something be good for the United States is going to be good for crypto holders long term. That's why I think that's so very important. But ultimately, he's also kind of echoing, listen, we're going to have a good Fed cut here the next 2 sessions, both October and December. But if they get their way, which they really should, we're going to see a very heavy Federal Reserve meeting in the future that has drastic rate cuts to bring those rates way down. All of this, again, very long-term good news. Does this mean that crypto has to skyrocket right this second? No, it does not. That's part of the manipulation that's in play here. We're going to go back to the charts and look at it, but I want to make sure you're clear here. This is good long-term news. It is something that's going to be very helpful, but it's not necessarily what's going to send us to the moon this week. Let's take a look at another interesting story kind of breaking today. The U.S. is seeking custody of 127,000 Bitcoins. Also 271 added to that. But this is worth $12 billion. This Bitcoin is linked to a global pig butchering scam operated by the Chinese national Chen Zi, according to the U.S. District Court for Eastern District of New York. For more on this, I want to throw it back over to Shrum. What's going on here? Is this a rumor? Is this real? How likely is it that the United States comes into this $12 billion worth of Bitcoin?
Well, at this point, I would say it's close to 100%, because if you go over to my screen, you can see
it's official.
Arkham.com is now quoting that 15 into what is in the government's custody, in the government's wallet. You can go off my screen.
Wow.
Now, it's a little more complicated than that. There's another 1.8 billion that apparently is still in custody of one of the folks who was associated with this case. Let me just make clear, I'm not super well acquainted with this case specifically, but it looks like someone has absconded with that Bitcoin, and now the United States government has put sanctions on that individual. That's not a place you want to be in, especially with that much Bitcoin. So, but it does look like the United States now has a lot more Bitcoin than they did just a few weeks ago. So that is potentially a very bullish headline that will be priced into the market at some point, once the manipulators deem the market ready to go back up. So we're hoping, and a lot of us are praying as well, that the market goes higher. Tim, I for one am sitting here saying, man, I'm not too upset with these discounted prices. Some of the altcoins that I hold that maybe are in a loss, I may be a little more anxious about that, wanting to see that number come back positive. But for some of these OGs like Chainlink and Ethereum and Bitcoin, man, these are some absolutely generational discounts. It looks like the United States isn't having to buy it, but they're trying to gobble up Bitcoin just as quickly as we are.
Yeah, it's true. For anyone who took profits last Monday like we did here, and we talked with our community about it, as well as people who have long-term patience, you're loving these dips. Unfortunately, we know there's a lot of people invested in crypto that are not so patient and did not take profits recently. And I understand that. I definitely feel people's pains who are just saying, I'm ready to be in profit. I'm ready for altcoins to finally hit the new all-time highs. When is this stupid altcoin season that Tim and others have been mentioning for like what seems like 2.5 millennium now? When is that finally going to come true? It'll come at some point. Do I know when? At this point, no. I'm going to talk about that later in the video as well. I made a whole video yesterday about my updating my price predictions, confessing that I have some things wrong and I'm going to change going forward about how I address price predictions. Some of you misunderstood the point of my video, so I'll address that. But I'll tell you right now, we are in a season where I am remaining extremely bullish. The key things that will make me turn bearish have not happened, and yet this is a very different cycle. This is very frustrating, and I understand it. But if you have dry powder and you have the ability to remain patient, these are the types of opportunities you have been begging for and looking for. It's just really crazy to think about, Shrum, how many people probably were begging months ago to return back down to these levels. And now that it's happened, they're freaking out and considering selling for a potential bear market, even though this is exactly what they asked for. Just the realm of what happens here. Let's keep going on with some more news here before we go back into the charts and carry on with the rest of our show. Some big news from BlackRock Spot Bitcoin ETF. It climbed above $100 billion assets under management. This continues to just far and away be the record holder of the fastest and highest growing ETF ever in existence, beating even the likes of things like the S&P 500. There is nothing, and probably will never be another thing in the future like a Bitcoin ETF. And this is just very, very good news. We're not going to keep hovering here. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Got a lot of stuff still happening here. So many reasons to be bullish still on the markets overall. Let's transition into an altcoin story, though. I didn't do the TA on this earlier, but another altcoin that has continued to thrive in this turbulent market has been BNB. Now, is part of that because BNB is part of the manipulation that's happening, keeping the market down? Probably. But we have some big news if you're a BNB fan, and if you're a Coinbase holder, you now, or soon, will be able to probably purchase BNB. Breaking here today, Coinbase. My Jim Cramer with these mispronunciations. Coinbase is preparing to list BNB token according to its updated roadmap. Now, you might be saying, those aren't coins. Those are two dudes. Of course, Brian Armstrong, the CEO and face of Coinbase. And it's funny, CZ doesn't work for Binance anymore. He is no longer the CEO, and yet he is the person everyone still associates with the brand. But this is going to be pretty massive. You can go off my screen here, Smay. This is going to be pretty massive when it comes true, because Coinbase and Binance are the massive two biggest exchanges worldwide. And in a lot of ways, they really operate like competitors. And there's a reason why, if you're a Binance holder, you have not been able to buy any base protocols whatsoever. And Coinbase holders have never been able to buy on the Binance coins or the BNBs and others at all either. With this now coming out, with Coinbase listing BNB, and more than likely rumors that BNB will list some of the base tokens as well, Shrum, what does this mean for the future? Is this a good thing that we're kind of limiting some competition, or could this be a big disaster for the crypto space?
It's an interesting thought. It's literally just coming into my ears today, but
yeah,
these are really big actors. I don't think that the United States, it's in its interest for Binance to get too ingrained into American investors. So I think that there's probably going to be some limitations on how cozy Coinbase could get with Binance. Let's just say it like that. But I think listing the BNB coin is definitely well within Coinbase's, ability, and they would still remain compliant to do something like that. But obviously, we're here in crypto. We like to get a little speculative and try to figure out what might happen. I don't think a merger between Coinbase and Binance Global is going to be likely. But of course, that's where this type of a move starts to lead folks to think, especially in financial markets like this, mergers and acquisitions are always on the table, right? But I do think that there could be potentially more of Binance being brought in for American investors, but just probably not full on anytime soon. Yeah. But obviously, if I'm Binance, I want to get into America and be able to sell all my financial services to Americans. Coinbase is currently the big bullfrog in the pond and is enjoying all of the fees, all of the VIG for the United States market and other markets too that let Coinbase in but not Binance. So this is a bit of an interesting marriage here. Again, it's just at this point, it's just on a roadmap. So Coinbase has just listed Binance on a roadmap. They have not listed it on the actual exchange. Correct. That'll be a very big day, probably for Binance. Although I hear myself say that probably will be a buy the rumor, sell the news type of thing. To be honest, even if with it being this big.
Now, an interesting tidbit here. I think that they're going to eventually list it until we hear something different. I think they're going to list it. But as our good buddy Crux of Crypto did point out, one of his beloved tokens, Caspa, and we love Caspa too. So I kind of almost like act like it's his coin. He just loves it more than us. I still love Caspa. If you're a Caspa community member, so glad you're here. Love it. Caspa's been on the roadmap before as well. Did not get listed by Coinbase. I still think that's another one. Eventually will happen. But just because it's on the roadmap doesn't guarantee it's going to be. But I do think this is one. I think this is one that ends up working out, making sense. Effectively, BNB, you got to remember, it is a large cryptocurrency. I think now, go to my screen. Yeah. Okay. I'll make sure I was right about this. I couldn't remember if it was true or not. BNB, with this whole system and recent rally, jumped XRP to now be the fourth behind Tether as well. But if you don't count stablecoins, the third largest cryptocurrency. Now, it's got quite some work to do before it jumps Ethereum. I don't think that's going to happen. But we're talking about the third largest coin in existence not being on Coinbase, which wants to be the largest exchange. They're not there above Binance, but they want to be there. It makes too much sense for them not to list it. By the way, similar reason why I think they're going to end up listing Caspa as well. Caspa's coming in right now, not quite as high, but where is it? Where's Caspa? There we go. Number 55. Not a top 10 coin, not even top 20 coin, but a top 100 should be on your exchange if you want to be there. By the way, Binance doesn't have it listed either, so I'm interested who gets there first listing Caspa on their exchange. But in a nutshell, I do think this is one that comes to be. I do think BNB will be able to be bought on Coinbase. And you know what? That's pretty cool. That means I'll probably buy a little bit there as well. Let me know in the comments. What do you guys think about this? Do you think it's terrible? Do you think it's good? What do you think about the markets overall? In a nutshell, it's time to go back to the charts and do some analysis because everything we kind of just read through, there's not a lot of bad news here today. The bad news is we're still cleaning up from a disastrous weekend with hefty manipulation. But the news is all still suggesting the long-term future for crypto is so bright. So you should be buying right now, correct? I want to be very clear. For long-term purchases, sure. go right ahead. But don't make the same mistake that we made that got us in this position in the first place. While there was coordinated attacks, while there was absolutely manipulation in play that brought the markets tumbling down to historic levels here on Friday, part of the issue, probably the biggest trigger, was the over leverage with confidence that people had here. They got obliterated. And right now, I think people are going into a same structure right now where they're going crazy in long positions here. But I'll tell you this right now, until I see bullishness out here on the daily chart for things like Bitcoin, you've got to be careful right now predicting that we're about to explode to the upside. What I'm seeing right now is money flow is still negative. After getting a sell signal here, bearish reversal, negative momentum, and negative money flow here, it makes sense why the daily chart came down here and hit some pretty big support when the smart trail and this major order block. The problem, some of you will remember, and we kind of stopped talking about this because it looked like after shooting new all-time highs, we're going to ignore this. But some of you remember, we still have this weekly sell signal from way back here in July that still is in effect. What am I talking about? Red reversal, bearish divergence, negative momentum, and we still have negative money flow on the weekly chart. What does that say? That says that we have support here in this area between 102 and 100,000. That is absolutely still in the realm of possibility for Bitcoin to pull back. This is something we told you months ago. If we don't end up hitting the smart trail, this will be the first time all bull market a weekly sell signal was ignored and the fullness of its pullback did not happen. We had one back here back in January of 2025. We had one back here in March of 2024. We also had one way back here in July of 2023. I think we also had one right here in February 2023. But the point is, several weekly sell signals have all resulted in pullbacks back down towards the weekly smart trail. If we don't do it this time, this would be the first. And right now, amongst a season of chaos and craziness, is a perfect opportunity to keep Bitcoin at a cheap level. What gets worse is when I come down here towards lower time frames. I told you earlier, if you're watching the show, 110,000 is going to be super critical moving forward for Bitcoin over the next couple of days. And the reason why is because of something that kind of developed yesterday. We weren't live yesterday. I was talking with some members about it in our Discord, the VIP trading group, but we developed over this last couple of days a nice little head and shoulders pattern with a neckline coming in right here at $110,000. A break below 110 would bring the price of Bitcoin at least down here towards $104,000. And like I said, the weekly chart still suggesting 102 to 100,000, still a possibility. I'm not predicting and telling you this is guaranteed. I want to be very clear here. If we can sustain and stay above 110,000 and can start to develop 12-hour and daily buy signals on the daily and 12-hour charts, then maybe we have a chance to come back up. But honestly, we could make it even all the way back up to 116,000. If we don't get these buy signals triggered, you cannot rule out another move back down below even the wick we had from the other day, with prices between 104 to 100,000 coming in the next couple of days or weeks. So maintain some eyes on that chart right there. All this bullish news, I guarantee, is causing people to flood in and buy and buy and buy and buy. But guess what? That's not what we're seeing necessarily happen on the charts. These things are still showing us money is flowing out. No strong strength is coming in here. Until we get some sort of strong bullish reason, this is the perfect manipulation trap to convince you to buy in right now, set your stop loss orders here, maybe around the 107 mark, only to bring us down lower, remove your liquidations, and finish the job with a almost $100,000 purchase for Bitcoin before we resume to the upside. Before I move on from Bitcoin, I want to be very clear. There was a video made, I think, by Ben Cowan. Now, I haven't seen this video. This is kind of coming to me secondhand knowledge, but Ben Cowan, one of the smartest guys in the space, made a video supposedly where he talked about, I think it's the fifth, I don't know if it's the 50 or the 200-day movement, some moving average right here at 100,000. He made the case, and I don't know if I fully agree with him, but I understand where he's coming from. He made a case in his recent video that we're still in a bull market right now, but if Bitcoin loses $100,000, let's just go ahead and put a level right there. If Bitcoin loses this level, we very well could be entering into a bear market. Now, I'm not so certain that I necessarily agree, but it's also very hard to argue with the reasoning of a man named Ben Cowan, because he is, again, one of the smartest people in the space at looking at longer term trajectories of support resistance and analyzing what to be ready for. Now, the reason why I'm not necessarily so certain is because, like I just told you, there definitely are reasons technically to go down to those levels. But even if we lose that level, there still is an overall bullish structure of higher highs and higher lows here to be in play. Technically speaking, we would have to drop below these April lows of $74,400 to break that bullish structure and have me in a position to say we're in a bear market. Now, clearly, you don't want to have to wait for $74,000 because that means Bitcoin is already down 40% at that time. But my point here overall is, whether you agree with Ben Cowan or not, where I do agree with him is I do think it's important, not calling it the end of the bull market, but I think it is important at this point for Bitcoin to maintain levels above 100K. There's targets and support in that area. If that support is lost, things could get very painful moving forward. Now, there's a good transition right here. Before I go into some altcoins to do this analysis, I'm giving you a lot of insights right here about Bitcoin's market and things going on. Yesterday, I made a video. Share my screen here, Smay. Some of you have not seen it. If you haven't, I encourage you to go watch it. It's the first video we brought back on the channel. And as you can see in the thumbnail, we taglined it with, I was wrong. My crypto price prediction updates, I was wrong. In this video, in a nutshell, I talk about some of the predictions I have made, and I tell people, listen, I made these videos a long time ago. I made these predictions a long time ago with the thought process that we would at least still mimic the bull markets of the past. What I mean by that, and I talked about it in this video, but let's look at it once again. Let's go to total crypto overall here on the weekly chart. I have a nice drawing for you guys already. In the past, our markets have been signaled with, if you drop after the 2013 high, there was an accumulation zone in 2015, followed by a pretty fast and explosive rally to the upside into our 2017 top, okay? This was followed by a one-year bear market in 2018, give or take, followed by, yes, some surges right in here, but overall another accumulation period of all of cryptocurrency for another couple of years before, guess what? A very, very fast 2021 bull run. What's my point here? We see these major accumulation phases, and then, yes, there's some slight volatility, but for the most part, previous crypto bull markets rally fast, aggressively, and quickly. And that's what we've been waiting for again. Only the difference is this looks nothing like the past. After we had our nice little accumulation period again here between 2022 and 2023, we began to explode in October of 23, only to see the cycle be extremely different this time. We explode on very good news. In this case, in 2024, it was the Bitcoin ETF, only to get stifled and have a long summer of bearish FUD in an accumulation period of time before the next big news. What was the next big news? Well, the presidential election happened. Everyone was convinced that Donald Trump was the next great person to ever walk the crypto planet, and he would take us to the promised land, and boom, crypto exploded once again. Well, it turns out it took him less than a week to not be the guy that we thought we was for crypto, because the tariffs came in, and we once again entered a multi-month 30% pullback for Bitcoin, 60 to 70% pullback for a lot of altcoins, another consolidation period, something that we had not really ever seen in bull markets past. But you know what? Some similarities. It's fine. We can keep going forward. Once again, we see rumor mills coming in saying, we're going to get great regulation. Rate cuts are coming. Crypto ETFs are coming out. We explode once again, only now to once again have found ourselves in a nice little accumulation zone. The point of yesterday's video was not to say that the bear market is here. The point of yesterday's video was not to say that all those predictions like Chainlink to $400 and Bitcoin to $250,000 and Ethereum to $15,000 to $20,000, SUI to $50. I'm not saying that those prices won't come eventually. I got a lot of messages and DMs and comments saying, Tim, this is going to change my entire portfolio, the way I hold it. I was thinking these prices were going to come. Now you're saying they're not going to happen. Is crypto dead? I'm not saying crypto's dead. What I'm saying is, if you were relying on former runs where we had these periods of time with massive, massive, massive price explosion, what we're watching happen right now is showing that that day is over. I think we're seeing a lot more consistency with what we see in the stock market, where good news spikes price followed by months of consolidation. I think that Bitcoin will have several 15, 20, possibly even more 30% pullbacks. Altcoins like Chainlink will have more 60% pullbacks between now and those higher prices. I'm not saying a coin like Chainlink can't make it and won't make it to these levels like $400 up here. Heck, I don't think you should stop at 400. I won't be surprised if in the next couple of years, Link is over $1,000 per coin. But I'm no longer going to make my price predictions in that way to say, you know what? Don't sell a single coin until we get there. Why? Because clearly this market is choppy, and I don't expect that choppiness to stop. The institutions have changed the game, and while you can ride the volatility, you can just sit and hold your altcoins all day long if you want to, and can be completely free and honest to do it. It's your decision. I'm not your financial advisor. You do you. What I'm saying is, I don't think we're going to see like what I once saw and thought years ago. I don't think we're going to see an explosive move where there's almost no pullbacks whatsoever on Chainlink making its way up towards $400. I think it's going to be a longer, drawn-out process with a lot of big rallies and a lot of big pullbacks as we stair-step our way to the potential of these coins. So in a nutshell, $400 Chainlink, call me crazy. I still think it's happening. Heck, I'm not even telling you that it definitely won't happen in 2026. What I'm saying is, I don't know. And the markets have completely changed. What I can tell you is the institutions play their own game, and you can try to keep playing the crypto game of old. You can keep playing Fourier cycle. You can keep playing, oh, we're going to get these crazy God candles where we rally 5,000% in the matter of 2 months. Go for it. Predict it. Get used to it. Do what you want with it. I'm watching these markets, and I'm watching how the big whales are playing, and I'm sitting here saying, I no longer am going to just sit around and wait for that explosive move. I'm going to trade these markets like on the weekly chart. I'm going to look for these examples of weekly sell signals where we get red reversals, bearish momentums, and negative money flow. In the video that I made yesterday, you guys will find if you had followed this strategy, if I had followed this strategy, because I didn't follow it, right? I should have. Hindsight's 2020. But if you had simply bought every time the weekly chart gave you a buy signal, like right here, like right here, like right here, and if you had sold every time we got a sell signal, like right here, and like right here, and like right here, you could have made a whole lot of money trading Chainlink. You would have had several opportunities to wait for 60% dips to the downside. But old crypto holdings say, nope, just hodl through the whole volatility, wait for the God candles. And I'm telling you right now, I don't think it's going to be that easy. So what I was wrong about, I was wrong in my approach to how I want to handle my portfolio. I don't feel like I'm wrong about price predictions. I don't think I'm wrong about the explosive and major rallies that will happen in the world of crypto. I'm just now predicting, instead of it being a straight shot like before, the choppiness is something to get used to. It's a sign of the adoption we have in the stock market. Take a look. Take a look at this, guys. If you don't believe me, take a look at how they like to trade their markets. I'm going to come over here to the S&P 500. Are there periods of explosions? Yes, absolutely. But for the most part, look at the stock market. When I zoom out here, choppiness is the name of the game. It never is easy. You don't see these parabolic runs where at only 2 to 3 months, we're seeing thousands of percentiles to the upside. It's a slow but sure process of higher highs and higher lows, and you need to learn to take advantage of them. I'm not saying don't hold. I'm not saying always try to do what I'm doing. I'm saying I'm done with long-term price predictions. I'm not going to try to pinpoint when the top of the bull market is, because the reality is nobody in the world knows where the top of the bull market's going to be. So we're going to trade the charts. We're going to trade it the way it's supposed to be. We're going to buy at the right times. We're going to sell at the right times. And dang it, we're going to make some money one way or the other in these markets. If you like that and you're willing to jump on board, good. Make sure you smash the like. Make sure you're here. If you want to just keep holding and ride 60, 70% volatility, be my guest as well. That's not a terrible strategy. Some people even need to do that. Some people need to just buy cryptocurrency, turn the computer off, and not check it for the next 5 years of their life. And you might find yourself being extremely profitable. But if you're like me and you want to make money and you want to make generational wealth, it is now going to become time, even in crypto, to make sure to read the charts correctly and buy at the right time, sell at the right times, and make money along the way. Southern Stacker says Link is not going to 1,000. go for it, man. If you don't think it's going, then sell long before. That's completely fine. By the way, I'm not giving you a timetable. Chainlink, I think hits $1,000, but does it hit it in 2035, 2040? I don't know the timetable. I don't know what the choppiness is going to look like. All I know right now is that there's still a lot of reason to suspect a big boom is coming, but how high that boom goes, I'm not going to predict Chainlink rallies to $400 by Q1 of 2026. In a nutshell, let's take a look at some of those coins. Why not look at Chainlink, since I hear mentioning it, talking about it. This is a coin right now that I am going to be watching. Just like Bitcoin, 110 is a very important support level. I'm going to tell you right now, this support level that we're just bounced off of here a couple of hours ago, around 1812, that one's pretty important as well. Why? Because even though we had the fake out from the big crash over the weekend, for the most part, Chainlink has been trading within this falling channel. Before the crash happened, we told our audience, don't be surprised if Link makes its way below $19 into this realm of $18.50 to $18. When you lose this green level, though, all of a sudden, this could bring a much larger correction for Link. And the levels that I'm kind of watching right now, I'm going to look out here on the daily and the weekly. We got some big support to the next downside around $16 to $15. Take a look at this weekly chart, right? We did have this nasty, gnarly wick down, but with that recent sell signal we've had, you got to keep your eyes on levels even potentially as low as $14 down to the next order block. So I'm not saying we're going to go that far. Technically, we have already crashed pretty intensely. The deciding factor is going to be, can Chainlink maintain and hold this $18 level and stay closing candles above it, or will we lose it? And we're looking at a short opportunity at least down towards $16. Keep an eye on that one. I'll keep my VIP trading group open on that one as well. What about Ethereum? Ethereum's got a little bit of wiggle room right here. I'm not going to call this level right here of 3,900 a very key level. I think 3,700 is the number to watch for Ethereum. We got a long way. We could drop a long way on Ethereum before we get to that critical level. This, just like Chainlink, is a falling channel pattern. If that gets lost, could we revisit and kind of do the same thing we just went down to? Could we revisit $3,400? Absolutely. If 3,700 is lost, 3,400 would be the next support level, and that would be where I predict a bounce to be. I'm not telling you guys this because I'm guaranteeing you it's going to happen. What I'm saying is looking at the charts right now and understanding that everything in the news is bullish, but knowing how manipulators and traps work, I want you prepared. Look for confirmation, watch the charts, watch the sell signals, watch the volume, because the chaos is not over. And if I was a manipulator right now, as people are starting to get confident once again, as people are starting to re-enter these long leverage positions, if I was a manipulator, I absolutely would take advantage of it and try to screw over people one more time so that I can buy these cheap dips once again. Be prepared, be vigilant. That's going to be my TA for the day. Let's see what else I was going to talk about today. Real quick, I want to throw it over to you, Shrum. Anything you want to add to stuff I just said? Anything you want to kind of clarify, maybe I was confusing about, or anything from your opinion?
No, I mean, you have to ask yourselves in these very volatile markets that we're in crypto, has anything changed to affect my overall investment thesis? And for Bitcoin, zero has changed, right? For crypto, zero has changed. Why do I say that so confidently? Because the two main factors for me are central governments continuing to print money, and is there any sign that they're going to ever stop doing that in the short, mid, or long term? And the answer is no, right? So that's great for Bitcoin. The other thing is, are Tether and Circle continuing to print stable coins? And is there still an incentive for governments to tolerate that and want that, because those companies, Circle and Tether, are going to buy US Treasuries? The answer is yes. Okay, well, that's bullish for DeFi. It's bullish for Ethereum. It's bullish for Solana. It's bullish for crypto. It's definitely bullish for Chainlink, which is going to make sure that all that data that is communicated intra-chain is communicated safely, securely, and extremely quickly. So those two things haven't changed. In fact, we just had a crazy headline that I've actually posted here. If you go to my screen here, Smay, it's actually pretty wild. There was it looks like it had been a fat finger that went up. Where is there's our live stream on X now. You can get our live stream on X. Where is this post? Okay, never mind. But you can go off my screen.
Didn't go there.
There was a post. There was a mint on Paxos. Paxos minted 300 trillion USPY, which I believe is the PayPal stablecoin, and they meant 300 million. Now you might be clamoring, oh my gosh, is that going to affect the markets? They already burned it. It was an accident. Doesn't look great for Paxos or PayPal. That's probably going to be some brand damage there. But for the most part, this is a already resolved issue. But just goes to show in real time, companies that these issuers of stablecoins are literally minting into crazy amounts, and that's only going to increase. So stablecoins continue to be minted, and central banks continuing to print currency, print fiat. Those are the two main forces that, in my opinion, are underpinning the amazing enthusiasm and the upside for altcoins. So that's why I'm continuing to hold.
Very interesting. Guys, we're going to enter into a little time of Q&A here, so make sure to drop some questions if you have any of them for us to answer for the last 10 minutes here. Let's start off with the rumblings of the old channel. So someone asked earlier, how did you sort out the problem with YouTube for this channel? We let you know in a video we put out 2 weeks ago, like we were leaving, we were having extreme frustrations, could not figure out why we kept getting strikes or warnings for harmful content here on YouTube. I'm not going to get into the exact specifics of what's going on, but I will tell you it has to do with stuff happening in our description. So you'll notice the descriptions are a little different. One of the things we're going to do going forward is instead of putting links down there for AI to potentially trip up on and misunderstand what's happening, anytime we have a sponsor or an affiliate link or mentioning, make sure to go check out in the description. You'll see a link tree there, and you'll check out all of our sponsors down below. There's also a big disclaimer right there letting you guys know we're not financial advisors. Everyone should be trading with their own knowledge, their own understanding, and taking their own risk. And Friday was a great example of that. There's nothing that could prepare you for what happened on Friday. It was a disastrous, horrible thing that's extremely rare, but it's another reason to prioritize your risk management and learn how to do all this stuff for yourself and not just trust influencers out there. So with an understanding of what was kind of giving us strikes, we are now back to the larger channel. Thank you for everybody who supported us through that content chaos. But I want to make sure you're clear here, because some of you are asking, does that mean we should unsubscribe from the other channel? Here's why I think you should not, but I want to lay out the plan for what we're going to do here. Normal content like live shows and market updates and breaking down what's happening in the news is going to continue to happen on this channel. So pretty much the same type of content we've been making now for the last 3 years, it is going to be here. But now that we have kind of a growth there, we have 6,200 subscribers on the Tim Warren Trading channel. It is going to become that. It is going to become the Tim Warren Trading channel. So multiple times a week, at least once, if not twice a week, I'm going to get on there with very strict, probably 20 to 30 minutes of technical analysis, breaking down trading and buying opportunities that I'm looking at. We'll look at mostly probably some swing trade and day trading opportunities, but we will occasionally even look at the shorter time frames and scalping. Now, I'm not going to give you all of my entries and exits and where I want to take profit and where I want to put my stop loss. For that, I'm going to keep that in our VIP trading group for our members over there. But I'm going to be every single week talking to you guys about what am I seeing on the charts and what coins look the most enticing to be looking at trades that week. If you want to just trade with us here on YouTube and figure out your own entries and exits, be a part of that channel. Make sure you're subscribed to Tim Warren Trading and look for those videos to come out. If you want to go a little deeper and understand not only what I'm doing in my specific trades, if you want to understand how to set up those trades for yourself with education, I highly encourage you to go deeper and check out the VIP trading group in the description on this channel, and you'll also find it in the next one, in the other channel as well. So be a part of both of them. I encourage you, keep subscribing to both channels, especially if you want to know specifically when to buy and when to sell. We'll cover a lot of news and overall market analysis here, still having technical analysis, but it's a lot of TA going to go on the Tim Warren Trading channel. I know you guys have been asking for that a lot. We get comments all the time saying, can you just do a bunch of TA, bunch of TA, bunch of TA? Well, if I do nothing but TA on this channel, we're going to skip a lot of news stuff. So these two channels are going to work out very well hand in hand. Be a part of both of them. Let's take a look at some other questions kind of happening here. You know, Vlad did ask earlier, he said, looking back at the last Friday now with 2020 vision, what TA indicators flashed the bear attack warning? I kind of went through that in the technical analysis portion of today's show where we looked at a lot of charts had weekly sell signals, and we got a lot of stuff done quickly. I mean, even the trap kind of stuff happening right now where I told you we could go lower. The only reason why those support levels are so very, very important is because technically the crash from Friday did hit a lot of very key levels. Not on Bitcoin, but most of the altcoins hit levels that they really needed to for that weekly sell signal. The only question is going to be, are those wicks suggestions for where the manipulators can go back once again to accumulate, or will they decide that's enough? The retail is depleted. It's time to start buying and going up right now. I know it sounds really confusing to people. In this show, we both said we don't think that the bottom is in necessarily, and we don't think the top is in. This is the chaos of manipulated markets. It is absolutely volatile. You need to be prepared at all times for where is the key support, where is the key resistance, what happens if support is lost, and what happens if resistance is broken. We'll keep talking about that here. But again, that's even more reason to go check out that Tim Warren trading channel if you have not already, because we're going to do a whole lot of that conversation over there, prepping you guys for the best coins and assets to trade. By the way, we're going to expand over the next couple of months. We want to talk not just crypto, but we also want to look at great opportunities in the stock market for some options trading as well. I don't do a lot of option trading. I want to start, but I'm kind of getting tired of times where I've gone on other people's channels and done TA on the stock market that ends up being spot on. And they made money, but I didn't enter any trade because I don't trade the stock market. I'm like, no, it's time. I know how to read these charts. Let me start doing some options trading as well. So if you're excited about that, go check out that channel right now. Crux or somebody, can someone drop a link just in case people are confused? Can someone drop a link in the chat to that new channel just so anyone who's listening who isn't a part of it, they can go find it right now. Let's look at some other questions here. Let's see. I still believe in coins like Link, AVAX, Sui, Ondo. Just hold. Listen, I still believe in them as well, and I will hold, but I'm also going to look for taking profits. When I see weekly sell signals, you guys don't have to follow me perfectly. You don't have to do exactly what I'm doing. I'm just being honest with you guys. Every couple of months, probably once or twice a year, you probably will see me buying and selling cryptocurrencies and altcoins. Why? Because historically, you just look at those weekly charts. When it says buy, it has been a darn good place to buy. And when you see sell, it has been a darn good place to sell. I still would classify that not even as swing trading. That still would almost classify as like long-term position trading. It's just not waiting for like 4 years to reach your targets. It is being able to get in and out a couple of times every year. And historically, great opportunities present themselves with those charts. A couple more questions here as we wrap it up. George Westman, I think, said, Tim, how do you take profits on Monday after that big dip is in Friday? Do you think the top is in? Kind of answer that question. No, I don't think the top is in. And I absolutely have already had a couple of trades since Monday where I've longed, taken profit. I had one short, I do believe, where we went to the downside. What I'm in right now, I'm actually in two longs. I'm on a long on Chainlink, and I'm along on AVAX. Both are kind of hovering right at my entry point. So anyone on our VIP trading group, if you're saying, man, can I get the same entry as Tim? Go for it. Let me look at something real quick. Let's just do a little bit of trading. Let's do a little tease of trading right now. And you guys can see here where my entry. I'm actually, okay, a little bit in the loss here, but on the 1 hour chart, you can see major support level in play. And this is the reason I'm in right now. We might see some chaos, might see some volatility, but green reversal, bullish momentum, and positive money flow showing up here on my link chart. Same with AVAX. Let's make sure it's still in effect here. But my AVAX chart, the reason I went long, yep, bullish divergence, green reversal, bullish momentum, positive money flow here for my AVAX trade as well. Now, it's at pretty much almost where I entered, just a little bit above. But in a nutshell, right now, I'm trading those. I'm in little longs. You'll notice I'm not looking at new all-time highs. I'm not looking at going higher than we were before. On both of these, my expectation is just little itty-bitty tiny pumps back up to lower highs. What I'm looking at right now is longer-term analysis. Again, those key support levels. If we break with confidence and start closing candles down here, I will look for shorts all the way down to $16. If I see a big breakout to the upside and we see a break above $20, I'll probably be longing up back towards $22, $23. I'm waiting for confirmation, but unfortunately, no, I don't think necessarily it's too early to say the bottom or the top is in on these local movements. So that's what we're kind of watching and maintaining some thoughts on here moving forward. You go off my screen right there. What stocks do you plan on looking at in the stock market for options trading? Honestly, Crypto Trucker Mike, it's going to depend. That's going to be another analysis thing that we're looking at. What's hot? What's not? What charts look right for longs? What charts look right for sell signals? I'm open to doing both of them. We're going to look for coins with volatility. We're going to look for coins with headlines. We're going to look for coins to get added volume. Here's what I'll say. I love crypto, and I think it's so easy to trade crypto, but sometimes stocks can be even easier because of the amount of volume that goes into them. So we'll look for options over there, and we'll keep you posted moving forward what that looks like. Still probably majority crypto. That is the niche that we know more about. That is something we've been doing now for quite some time. But again, the few times I've dabbled in stock technical analysis, I do a pretty good job of reading that as well. So it's about time I make some money on that moving forward. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up today's show. It is 4 o'clock. Thank you so much for being here. We didn't quite get to my 1,000 concurrent on YouTube. I think we were up at like 770 or something. I don't think we got to 800. So let's try again on Friday. Let's get that 1,000 concurrent. I'll tell you what, moving forward, go tell your friends. We might do like a giveaway or something. Maybe not cash. Maybe a month free access to our trading group. From time to time, we hit certain marks like concurrent viewers. We might do some special giveaways of our trading group. So tell your friends, come watch the show, get the concurrent back up. Thank you to everyone on X. We have 500 of you guys watching on X right now. We'll be doing this every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We'll be posting videos there as well. Make sure you follow us on all of our sites. We have a YouTube, we have an Instagram, we have TikTok, we have X. All those links are in the description. Make sure you're following us. I will see you guys on Friday, same time, same place. Adios.